are okay, as okay as they can be. Trying to keep team morale high so that when we get the green light, we can open our doors, we can turn the music on, get the beers rolling, and we can try and get back into a good place.
That's it. So today I think they came out with a scheme to help self-employed people.
Yeah.
Is that going to help a lot of your staff?
Yeah, it will help out a lot of our guys. Obviously, the only caveat that they've added to that, which I understand why, is that you have to have been self-employed at least for the last year, I think, and to have filed a tax return for 2019. So I know for a fact that some of my guys wouldn't have done that, especially some of the guys that have been with me for less than a year, which is probably about a third of the team. So they wouldn't have filed a tax return in 2019, which means they're back to universal credit. So it doesn't. So it's going to help some of my guys. It's not going to help others. But again, it is what it is. That we'll get through it one way or another.
Will you? A lot of your staff look up to you. Did they come to you for like kind of mentorship? Have you been like handling a lot of calls about stuff that's maybe not even that work related from staff?
Yeah, quite a few. Not all of them, obviously. I mean, they don't all look at me that way. Some of them think I'm a twat. No, I do. I check in with them on the group messages every day and make sure that everybody's okay. Ask them if they need anything. I mean, I'm limited too in terms of the kind of help that I can offer them. But just making sure they're okay. But yeah, I've had a few calls from guys at different stores that are struggling with their anxiety and they just need some reassurance that the future is there for them. That the future is brighter than the present time. So I've been stepping in and doing that when it's needed.
So when we was on Instagram the other day, you were talking about writing a book.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to someone and it was like, what's the book going to be about? So now, then it kind of planted that seed into my head. So now I kind of want to know.
Well, it's not like a novel or anything. It's basically, I've had this idea for at least the last 2 or 3 years. I've just done nothing with it. And it'll be a relatively simple thing to pull off. Obviously, with the Instagram generation now, we're just bombarded with all of these memes out there constantly. And I see these memes all of the time that I just think are nonsense. And, these ones where you're good enough for where you are, or you're beautiful, or all you have to do is ask the universe and things will align for you, all this kind of nonsense. And the amount of times that I've gone to write a lengthy reply to logically break these things down, I just go, I can't get that. So I just deleted it. So what I wanted to do was do kind of like a coffee table type book. On one page, you would have a big blown up picture of the meme in question. Excuse me. On the opposing page, you would have my critique of why that meme is nonsense and you should ignore it.
I like that.
So yeah, it's a relatively simple thing to pull off, but it's I could probably knock it off in 3 or 4 weeks. I just thought, this is a good time to do it.
Yeah, you're gonna upset a lot of people with that.
Yeah, hopefully, a lot of people need upsetting. It's actually that's I shouldn't say that. I don't want to upset anybody, but I don't want to upset anybody, but I do want to upset ideas that are provably false. I do want to upset truths that are rather opinions that are being presented as truths that can be logically torn apart. I'm down for that. That's what I want to do.
Me and Julian joke about it all the time, don't we? About like stuff we see on Instagram, or like we'll send it to each other.
Yeah, super extreme end like things, and
it's insane, And I saw one today. I've seen this one several times since this whole thing started. About whatever you're feeling right now is valid. All of your feelings are valid. And I was thinking, what an incredibly dangerous thing to teach people. What an incredibly dangerous thing to tell somebody that has crippling anxiety or crippling depression. That everything they're feeling is valid and it should have a place in their voice. It's nonsense. And they're the kind of things that I really want to question and break down. But not to be intentionally confrontational, because I think that I can break these things down logically and make people think about it. But these are the kind of things to me, and the one intention, don't get me wrong, the people that share these memes, they have good intentions, I get it. But I do think that if you're a relatively intelligent person, it only takes you 5 or 10 minutes to think about these things before you go, no, that's not true. That's not accurate. That's probably a dangerous thing to teach people, actually.
Yeah, it's just like a surface level statement. It's like they're normally like super sweeping, super easy to take in, and then double click, like, keep scrolling.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that a lot of these things, they're so unbelievably benign and so vague that they become utterly meaningless. And they make statements that are very, on the surface at least, are difficult to disagree with. It's like, I think I've used this analogy before, but it's like going to a march, and there was a march for this, by the way, that's against poverty. So, well, we're all against poverty. It's nonsense. What you're saying doesn't mean anything. It's just virtue signaling nonsense. And when you dig beneath the surface, you can see that there's no roots to what's being said at all. They're just benign, sweeping, mundane, shallow statements that feel good for 20 seconds, but they mean nothing. They don't help anybody genuinely navigate their way from this week to next week. So they're the things that I want to, if I can, they're the things that I want to try and challenge.
Yeah, that'd be a cool book to see, man.
No, go for it, Jules.
No, I'm just saying that. I think, like you say, it doesn't have to be to upset people, but it's just to get people to see things from a different perspective, have the thought of it from from higher up, and getting a broader view of things.
Anybody, it's to upset ideas, and that's what we should do. That's what how would you say this? Any society that is high functioning has to be based on the premise that the good ideas win, and then the society is based on those good ideas, and that our lives individually and collectively are based on those good ideas. So any society that is smart allows there to be a marketplace for ideas. These ideas go to war, and the best idea wins. And the ideas that win are the ideas that are most aligned to truth. And unfortunately, with Instagram and all of these things, and these things are amazing in the main, it does give a platform to everybody to spread ideas that are provably false. And some of the more vicious, well, not vicious is not the right word, but some of them are just plain wrong. They spread maliciousness that's disguised as virtue, and that's the most dangerous thing, because you don't see how vicious they are to begin with, because they come disguised as well-meaning and well-intentioned.
Is that it? Do you think if you fill your feed with all this positive stuff that's got no substance to it, that the real world is probably going to kick you in the ass at some point, and you're not really good? Like, oh, actually, my phone's not. It says it's just going to be great, and today's been pretty shit.
Because it's not aligned to anything. It's not aligned to anything at all. I had a friend. I don't know if I told you guys. I've got a friend who went to a Tony Robbins event in London a couple of years ago. You know Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah.
The self-help guru of all self-help gurus. So he went there, and I think he paid £5,500 for this 3-day course. And he was sending me videos the entire time. And so every morning they had house and trance DJs that would play an hour set that would literally there to get the audience into this trance-like state, so pumped up, so hyped, very American, high-fiving everybody, make everybody believe they were awesome and amazing. No real substance to anything that went on. And when it came to Monday morning and that 3-day retreat was over, these people found themselves on a train station somewhere in King's Cross, going back to their real lives, and no doubt feeling very deflated, because it's easy to create these bubbles for ourselves that feel incredible, and we fill them with motivation and all of these things. And if it's not aligned to anything deeper, the second life hits you in the balls, it dissipates. It dissipates completely. Motivation is very much for the moment. It's not. There's no longevity in it. There's no longevity in it at all. Which is why we talk all the goddamn time, and we bang all the time about purpose, because that's the only thing that has any longevity to it at all.
No, you're right, for sure. So to relate back to what we were saying kind of yesterday, how can people use this time to shape themselves in a way that's going to help them when we're freed from our houses, basically? Like, how can you use this 4 weeks to 3 months to kind of remold yourself or add something to your life that you didn't have before?
I think so. The reality is, I think you're going to get a split, okay? And the reality is, there's going to be a lot of people that use this time as not as a holiday, but they just survive it. So they get to the end of it. Nothing much will change in terms of their character, in terms of their worldview, in terms of how they do things in the future. And then you'll get a segment of people, it'll be a smaller segment, that use this as a period for self-reflection. And I think that's what's really needed now more than ever. And that's what this situation has pushed me into, a period of really extreme self-reflection, really extreme. Because this situation has shown us just how unbelievably fragile our little worlds are. We build walls around our lives and we think that we're safe, and they're not. And very similar to the experience I had when my mum died that we spoke about before, this is kind of a reminder of our own mortality. And I don't just mean a mortality in terms of our physical bodies and death, but how fragile the time that we have is and how quickly that can come to an end. So there are things in all of our lives, without a doubt, certainly in mine, that at the moment are unfulfilled. There are words that are unsaid. There are deeds that have not yet been done. There's promises that have been made yet have not yet been fulfilled. And if something were to happen now in this situation, those things would go with me and with you and with everybody else to the grave. So this is a time for me for radical self-reflection. Who is it that you want to be? And how much of your life is aligned to that purpose? And if it's not very much, then change it. And promise yourself that you're going to change that the second that this all blows over.
Yeah, do you agree with that, Julian? Do you think that's, if people don't use this time, it's a bit of a waste?
I think definitely so. I think obviously look, everyone are at different places. Some people have got kids, and a lot of the time we're going to be going there. A lot of people are, going to be at home. We're going to be single or wherever you are. The people are going to be in different stages of life, and I think everyone can use this time to better themselves, like in any way. For me, a simple way, you look at your thing routine from when you get up in the morning, what you're doing. So I think adding small little things, like Neil says, self-reflection. I'm definitely an advocate for that, because now more than ever we've got more times on our hands to do something with it. So why not make yourself better in that time? So to flip that around, what have you both been doing or added to your life to add to that, so to make your lives better, or to try and make yourself better? Have you changed anything about your daily routine or the way you see things? Have you been doing things in the last week?
Yeah, well, not in terms of actions yet, I've got to be honest, but in terms of thought and clarity of mind, definitely. So I was saying to James yesterday, I've put off lots and lots of things that I want to do. Yeah, whether it's writing more or being more involved in the podcast and stuff that I do, or exploring that avenue. All of these things I've been putting off for a long, long time, and for no good reason. So this has made me really kind of mentally double down on those things. So I've started entering the planning phase now for all of those things. And if this hadn't have happened, would I have done that? At some point I would have, but who knows? Would it have been a year from now, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now? Maybe I would have started it when I was 50 and missed the boat. So it's pushed me into a place where it's put a rocket up my ass to do things that I've been putting off.
Yeah, you're right. Do you know what, I kind of seen the opportunity in it. To the first couple of days, I was like, oh, I don't have to do that much. It's pretty good actually. And then that other side of me, like the little niggling voice, like, don't be a lazy little fucker. What are you doing? You're not doing enough. Then I was like, oh, can this be an opportunity for the podcast to actually, like, we can put out more content than ever by doing stuff like this.
Yeah.
So much easier. We did an Insta Live. It went well. I was like, oh, yeah, this is what we should be doing. But then, like, on a personal note, I just wanted to buy books that would challenge me, that would like provoke thought, stuff that's been recommended to me that I thought, is it going to be a bit heavy reading? Just try and get through stuff like that. So that's what I'm trying to do, is be a bit more consistent, build stuff back in that I tried to have. And then for some reason, day-to-day life, if something's got to give, I just read a bit less, or don't do that, or cut stuff out when it's easier. But now I've got the time, it's build them back in, and hopefully they'll stay after.
Yeah, it's got to be a wake-up call for people. And again, it won't be for everybody, because some people just don't think in those terms. But it's when things like this happen and we're forced into a position where we have to be reactive to life, which is never comfortable for anybody. If we don't have the financial fortitude to fight back, if we don't have the emotional capacity to fight back, the intellectual capacity, the strength of character, the strength of mind to fight back, then we're just anchorless ships in a storm. And I think that's a situation you find a lot of people in now. So we can't ever negate things like this occurring to us. We have no control over them. When this tragedy blows over, 2 years from now, there'll be another tragedy. There'll be some, whether it's a personal one or a collective one, but there will be something that happens that blows your little world apart. So for me, the real question is having the maturity to recognize that now and preparing ourselves for it. Because they're really the people that get through life the best. It's the people that understand early on there's going to come a point when things are tough, when things are brutal, when things are, malevolent things happen to me. There's going to come a point when I'm pushed. There's going to come a point when I feel like dropping to my knees. And if you can recognize that's coming, especially in the moments of comfort, then you're somebody really formidable and you will get through it. That's why I think all of the calm times are an opportunity for us to prepare. But we don't live like that. We don't live as if, these things are ever going to occur to us. I don't just mean the coronavirus, any kind of tragedy. We just don't live like that. We live very much moment to moment. So it's an opportunity to really get our houses in order in a very deep way, to really, really kind of sort our shit out.
Yeah, because I was saying today, it can be, this could happen now. It makes you realize this could happen every year. It could happen every 6 months. You just don't know anymore.
No,
it's kind of thrown that uncertainty. We had a run of time where, ever since I've started working, that it's been like a steady incline of just progression. It worldwide, really, like economy, all that sort of stuff has just grown constantly, and now it's like hit this.
Well, some of like culture, like always having to
No, go on.
outdo everything, It's all like, if you look at finance and economics it's always a constant push for
more, you mean?
Say again?
We're always pushing for more.
I think as a society we are always pushing for more. Even if you look at it, from like a social media side of things, adverts that you'll see, anything, it's always pushing for more, trying to get an action off someone.
And I think like with like research or technology, like people are building robots and then people are telling us, like Elon Musk is like, well, I don't really, I'm not sure. These things are going to get fucking smart fast. Like I was listening to something about is it Clear Blue or something like that beat. It was like a AI algorithm from Google, and it played a chess one, a chess computer thing, and it learned it in a day, and then it fucking 85 times out of 100, or every time out of 100. So it's like we don't care about, we just want to make progress without even thinking of the consequences sometimes.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the things. It's I've seen a lot of posts this week and last week complaining about capitalism and and saying that this is the world's way of sending a warning to us for the climate catastrophe and all those kind of things. And I don't really pay much credence to those thoughts. But one of the things that we're not very smart at understanding is that there is no progress without consequence. Equally, there is no failure without consequence. Everything we do has a consequence. If you want growth, there's a consequence to that. If you want to get ahead, there's a consequence to that. Those consequences are at an individual level, a local level, a national level, and international level. And we're just not good at understanding that. And we're not good at preparing for the fact that there are going to be negative consequences to this, that not everything can push eternally forwards without ever going backwards, which is a reason why it's so important for us to become as self-sufficient as we possibly can be. That should be a powerful lesson in this situation. A lot of people right now need bailing out, and God bless them. But how amazing would it be if we would get to a point where we were more self-sufficient? And I think that now I don't have enough savings in the bank, and I should do. And why don't I? There's no reason why I don't. It's because I haven't been smart enough with my finances. So I could put myself in a position and my children in a position where potentially there isn't enough money. And there's no reason why that should be the case, because enough money has been earned, So it's a wake-up call for me in that sense. And for all of us, I see a lot of guys walking around, wearing jackets and T-shirts that cost a week's wage. And this week they're panicking whether they're going to be able to pay their rent or not. This is part of our culture that exists that makes fools out of us all. And this is an opportunity now for us to really look at ourselves and really look at the things that we spend our money on. Look at the places we spend our time. And say, is this moving me forward? And if the answer is no, then we don't engage in it. That's a real sign of maturity as well. It's the ability to defer instant gratification for future payoff. And we are just not good at that. We're just not.
To go back to when you was talking about there's no consequence without growth, to put it into like a practical example that's real life, what was the negative drawbacks of expanding from one store in Leeds to then stores going from one store to 3 stores? That growth, what was the tough parts of that?
I lost all my friends. That was
Right.
one of the very real. No, seriously. I mean, people don't speak like this. Look, we started off as 4 guys, but then we became 6 and 7 guys, and we were all best friends. We were all very very close. You know, these guys lived with me at different periods, looked after my kids. You know, we spent all of our time together. We were very close, and it wasn't really a business. It was a place where we could have a laugh and hide from the world, and hide from responsibility and make a little bit of money in the meantime, which was great. And then 4 or 5 years in, it's like, well, actually, we're making really good money. Actually, we're becoming really popular. Actually, against all odds, this has become a business. So then I looked at going and opening a second store and a third store, and keeping that family dynamic that you had when it was just 4 or 5 of you is almost impossible. It's almost impossible to. Well, in fact, not almost. I think it is. It's impossible to do that. And then because I had been a friend to the first guys that worked for me for so long, having to switch from friend to boss, that became very grey. It was a very difficult thing to do. And the reality is, it takes a lot of maturity from the people that you're around to be able to see that switch up is necessary. So when you try to go from friend to boss, you then just become an arsehole to people in their perception. It's like, well, we could do this before, and we can't do this now. But it's very, very difficult to balance that right. And I think you hear all the time, don't you? It's once money gets involved, things become messy, and that's exactly what happened. We made more money, it became messy, and people get greedy. It's that simple. People get greedy. People want more. They want cheaper chair rent. They want a bigger percentage, and it's very, very difficult. And it was a big. I was very naive when I started the business. Very, very naive. I was this very liberal guy. I was a socialist. I would put my financial needs came second, third, fourth, and fifth to everybody else's. And it was a very, very naive way to run a business for me. And eventually it backfired.
Yeah, people don't see that side of the success really. They see like Kobe, great store, expand York, expand Newcastle, and then you only see, even with businesses, you only see the Instagram side of it, like all the expansion and the haircuts and how busy it is and that sort of stuff. None of the
don't get me wrong, all of the guys that I started with at King Kobe, like, I couldn't have done it without them. They played a huge role in the success of the store. There's no animosity, there's no hard feelings, none at all. I've got nothing but good things to say about them in the main. But it is a consequence of success. And I found it, and not just economic success, it's a consequence of your personal growth as well. I found that the more that I grew as an individual, the more that I began to challenge my own belief systems, the more the people around me felt isolated by me, the more they became isolated by my presence. And that's a lonely thing to experience, but I get it. I understand why that happens. It's very difficult for people who have known you for 10 years to see a different side of you emerge that is almost the 180 opposite of who they have known, and for them just to accept that. So it's a very difficult thing to navigate, and I've made every possible mistake that you could make. As a businessman, as a boss, as an employer, as a friend, I made every mistake I could have made. I made it 4 or 5 times over. I was a slow learner. But it's set us up now for, we're in the strongest position we've ever been in at King Kobe. As a business, we're far stronger than we've ever been at any point since we've been open. So, it all led to a good place eventually.
Yeah, as long as you keep learning from mistakes, it's not really they're a bad thing, but they're not in a way. Like with this podcast, we fucked up 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Loads of
consistency,
shit, right?
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is that, and it's so simple. We don't think of it this way. We're all desperate to avoid failure, and understandably so. Failure is embarrassing. Failure is not a nice thing to experience. But there is no success without failure. Success is the flip side of failure. You cannot be successful without failure, because success by definition requires there to have been something to overcome. And you can't overcome something unless you failed at it first. You can't learn unless you failed at something. We mentioned this yesterday, but you don't learn from comfort. You don't learn from financial security. You don't learn from happiness. You don't learn from holidays on the beach. You learn from shit. You learn from pain. You learn from loss. You learn from despair. And yet we spend all of our time attempting to avoid these things, ironically. But we can't avoid them. We can't avoid them, not if we want to be successful.
Yeah, me and Neil were saying yesterday, Julian, that this time can be like an exciting time, like in a strange way. That it can create loads of opportunities. Do you feel that way?
I'd say yeah, definitely yeah and no. Like it's like it's an unpredictable time at the moment. You know, we're not going to know what's going to happen 2 weeks, a week, a month, 9 months down the line. But then, you know, this is my all overview of it. Like I'm seeing reports from around the world, and you know, there are countries like Spain, Italy, where you're hearing all these really crazy, scary stories. But then I also think there's also a side to me that I want to know where we're going to be after this. You know, how is this going to change people for the different? Because it will, and in a way that does excite me without that sounding sick. You know, there are going to be a lot of people that are going to lose their life over this virus, and it is going to be. I think in 3-4 weeks time when it is going to hit the UK, you know, a lot of people are going to go down from that. But then, sorry to go to your question. Do I think it's exciting? Was that the question?
Yeah, can it be an exciting time? Not in a sick way, like obviously.
But yeah, I think 100%. It can be an exciting time. You know, like all this time you've been given back now. You know, spending it. Like I've been going up and down my street and I'm seeing families hanging around with each other, painting the fence together. You know, and you see people like doing the things that you wouldn't usually see. So, like that, I see that as a positive thing. You know, if you look at the everyday today life of people, of what you're actually doing, you're going to work, you're coming home, sleeping, going back to work. Like, is that really living? Like, to a degree, like the mundane 9 to 5 worker, you're not. Like, I don't think if you're stuck in that routine, yeah, I don't know, you get trapped in that. I think in that 9 to 5 kind of life, and I've been in there, and I've kind of been able to take myself out of that. And, you know, being in an office, being tied down, and you get stuck with responsibilities, mortgages, direct debits at the end of the month. So I've diverted a little bit off the question there, but yeah, I think it can be exciting, and I also think it can be scary. To answer that,
Sorry, man. It's ridiculously exciting, but it takes a certain kind of mindset to look at it that way. So the three of us sitting here saying this is exciting, just to be clear to the people that would be instantly offended by that, that doesn't negate the fact that we don't recognize that it's also going to be catastrophic for some people. It's also going to be hideous for a lot of people. Things are never just one thing, okay? Becoming a parent was exciting. It was also terrifying. You know, it wasn't just one thing. This situation is exciting, but it's not just exciting. It's other things too. But the main reason that it's exciting, and I think this really goes to the core of a lot of issues in society at the moment, long before the coronavirus hit us, is that this gives us an opportunity to prove who the fuck we are, what we're really made of, what we're capable of overcoming, and how well we can walk through the fire. You know, Charles Bukowski said that. You know, one of my favorite writers. You know, he said all that matters. All that matters is how well we walk through the fire. So, in other words, nothing else matters. Not your wealth that you amass, not the house you live in, not the car you drive, not how attractive you are physically, not how articulate or eloquent you are. All that matters is that when the shit hits the fan, how well do you navigate that? How well can you walk through the fire of life? Because that's what really defines you. And that's what makes it so exciting for me. You know, Marcus Aurelius is another one of my heroes, had a quote, I'll paraphrase, I can't remember it word for word, but he said that he feels sorry for those people that have never known pain and tragedy, for they will never have the opportunity to know who they really were. And we don't look at it that way. This is an opportunity to find out who you really are and to find out what's really important, you know. And if we use it to those ends, then I think we're going to see some incredibly strong men and women come out of this, you know. And strong men and women build strong societies.
Yeah, that's it. It's a time where you can just mold yourself to and see how well you adapt to it. Because the first few days, I was just looking at the news all the time, scrolling, worrying about it, and I was like, I can't fucking change it. I can't mold it. I can't dictate how it's going to get on. So I just need to get my head down and focus on some other stuff and be productive and kind of ignore it, like do what I can do and crack on.
Yeah, it's look, I mean, I don't know, speak on your behalf, but I would imagine that any time you've grown up as a human being, either one of you, it's come on the back of some sort of tragedy or pain, or it's come on the back of something that could have been tragic if you didn't handle it in a certain way. So for me, anything that's pushed me forward as an individual has been hideous to bear. So the death of my mother was a big one. You know, my brother and I growing up in poverty. You know, my father being made redundant, having to start the business up, going through a divorce. All of these things were hideous. They were hideous things to go through. But my God, did I learn, and my God, did I grow from those things. And we often spend so much time trying to avoid trials and avoid pain, and it's understandable. It makes sense. It's logical. It's a logical thing to do. But there is nothing there that's good in the avoidance of pain. The people that we really admire in society, I don't care who it is, whether it's an intellectual, an academic, a sports star, a movie star, whatever, the people we really admire are the people that have been able to face the pain and the malevolence and the nastiness of life head on and navigate it so well that not only does it change them, but it improves them. You know, and you see that there's you know, it's a simplistic way of putting it, but there's essentially two types of people in the world. You know, if we're talking about it in that kind of realm, is there are those people that take pain and are able to use it to learn and to grow, and there are those people that take pain and it cripples them, and it cripples them for life. Sometimes takes them out of the game completely. They become bitter and useless and resentful, and you see that. You know people like that in your life, and people like that in my life. So you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy. And I think one of the biggest lessons one of the biggest ways you can avoid being that guy is to accept that it's coming. Pain is coming, you know, hurt is coming, these things are coming. And when you know it's coming, it's easier for you to navigate your way through it.
Yeah, for sure. Right, man. Do you know what? Let's get into these we've got 4 lockdown questions for you, so I'll let Julian hit you with the first one. We're not prepped you for this either, so we're kind of throwing you under the bus, but
well, they're your questions or questions you've received.
Nah, we set up some questions today to
All right, cool.
like a lockdown related questions. So every guest that we have on this now is gonna have to go through these.
Set
There's only
questions.
4.
All right, boom. First question. So, who would be one person you'd love to be locked down? Well, not love. Who you'd like to be in isolation with, and why?
Depends on the main purpose, well, I suppose. Jordan Peterson, or Jesus Christ. Forget whether he's real or not, but if that, yeah, I mean, just to learn from those guys would just be immense. You know? If I could have 3 weeks just learning from them, I'd ask so many questions. So, yeah, that'd be a good people to be locked down with.
All right, nice. Right, my question is, if you could give one book recommendation that everyone should read whilst they've got this downtime, what would it be, and why?
Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. It will change your life, and it will put everything in perspective, especially this. Written by a guy who was in the Nazi concentration camps, and how he found meaning. How he found meaning even in the depths of all that evilness and depravity. It's so it's not even a big book. Most people could read it in 2 or 3 hours, but it's life changing. You know, and I don't say that lightly. It's one of the few books that's genuinely life changing. Go and read that book, especially now.
Say that again, so everyone can go out and get that.
Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Boom. Next question. So, what's the first thing you'll do when this podcast is over, Neil?
No, when the lockdown is over, not the podcast.
Well, whatever you want to call this.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Well, on the podcast, though, I'm going to go bath my son, which is not very exciting. When this whole lockdown's over, what's the first thing I'll do?
Yeah.
Go and deadlift some heavy weights. Yes. That's the first thing I'm going to go and do.
Straight to the gym, like it. Last one. What's one goal that you want to achieve in this time of isolation? If you could achieve anything, what would it be?
On a practical level, I want to finish this book. I've set myself a goal of writing this book. It's a simple concept. I think I can do it in 2 or 3 weeks. So I'd like to get to the end of this isolation period and have that done and in the bag. Doesn't matter if it doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't matter if it never sees a light of day. It's just something for me to prove to myself that I can do it. But on a deeper level, I want to get to the end of this period knowing what the next 4 or 5 years of my life looks like and using it as a time for much deeper self-reflection. So I'm going to make firmer plans, more solid plans.
Boom.
Nice.
Love it.
Amazing.
Well, that's
There are
it.
things that aren't left undone. That's the main thing, you know. And my life has been characterized by that for a long time. So many things on the table, so many things left undone, unsaid. I don't want that anymore. You know, I don't want that anymore. I think there's real courage in living with immediacy, living in the moment. You know, so like Bob Dylan's one of my heroes, in one of the paper behind. We had a line in a song, and it's a song actually that he wrote to be played on his deathbed. And there was a line in there that just very simply said, I did all I could and I did it right there and then. And I want to try and live my life based on that. You know, one of the amazing things to say, I did all I could and I did it right there and then. No waiting, no procrastination, no overthinking, no talking, no planning. I just executed the best that I could in the moment that it needed doing. And I think if we all strive for that, our lives will be much more productive.
Yeah, you're right, man. How often do you just not, you're in that moment, you have a thought of doing something and then you kind of shit yourself and don't do it.
Yeah.
And you just
That's,
think
you
about
know what,
it.
James? That's the most terrifying thing, man, for me. Like, I honestly, at this stage in my life, you know, and it's weird, right? Because I'm 40 in like 3 months' time, yeah. And I don't, in my head, I'm 16. Like I left school 2 weeks ago. It's so bizarre to get to this point, but I'm at this point in my life now where I'm driven almost exclusively by fear. And that's it's a strange place to be, but it's kind of exciting too. I'm driven almost exclusively by fear. I'm scared to fucking death of not being the person that I know I should. I'm scared to death of leaving things on the table. I'm scared to death of not realizing my potential, however limited that may be, you know, and it scares me. There are things in my life that I want to do. I mean, did you watch the Goggins podcast on Rogan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A year ago. Well, he spoke about this, and he speaks about it far more eloquently than I can. But he was saying that Rogan asked him what his biggest fear was, and this is something that really hit me. So he said his biggest fear, he said, is that he gets to the end of his life and he goes to see God, you know, or whatever you want to call it. But he faces a judgment, some kind of judgment. And he gets there and he's waiting in line for this judgment to occur. And there's a guy there with a big roll call. And he says, David Goggins, come forward. And David Goggins steps forward. And he says, Navy SEAL, 220-pound world record push-up champion, international best-selling author. And he says, no, man, that's not me. That's not me. And the person doing the judgment says, no, that's who you were meant to be. And that really, really hit me. It really, really hit me. Goggins was speaking from the perspective, if he had stayed being the 300-pound guy that he was, is not knowing who you could have been is absolutely fucking terrifying. You know, and I can't remember who said this, but I read it recently where somebody had asked for what's your definition of hell, and they'd said that my definition of hell is meeting the person that I should have been at the judgment bar. But it's too late when you can't do anything about it. And for me, that's what this situation sheds the most light on. We don't have time. We think we do. We think we have time. We think we have safety. We think we have security. We think we have the ability to procrastinate. How fucking arrogant of us to believe that. So arrogant of us to believe that. Do all you can. Do it right now. Do it in the moment. Otherwise, you're going to get to the end of your life and there'll be things on the table. And, you know, this, talking about the memes that are nonsense, this idea, there's always time. You always have time to change. It's never too late. Fuck that. It is too late. You know, it's almost too late now. You know, if you have an idea or a thought or something you want to do it now. Do it now. Do it in the moment, because there will come a point when it's too late. There will come a point when you can't do it anymore. There will come a point when you've seen your mother for the last time, or your father or your girlfriend. That point will come. You know, don't leave anything on the table. It's the most agonizing part of the human condition. You know, to live with regret is a terrible thing.
It's mad that we actually live like this, that we just think, we act like we'll never die, don't we?
It's crazy.
Yeah, you don't think about it, right?
It's crazy.
I never think about it, ever. No risk.
What's even crazier about it is that, and we've said this before, but we all know it. From being 5 or 6, we're the only species on the face of the earth that is aware of our own mortality. We know we're going to die. We know, roughly speaking, when it's going to be, between what age ranges. We know how death happens. We know how we age, but none of us live as though that's a reality. We just don't. We don't. And if we did live like it was a reality, then we'd get shit done more. We'd be kinder, we'd be nicer, we'd be more productive, we'd be in the moment more. You know, we wouldn't tell lies, we wouldn't try and manipulate, we wouldn't waste time, we wouldn't sit in bed till fucking 11 o'clock, we wouldn't play video games, we wouldn't do any of the stupid shit that we do, because we would recognize that there was a giant clock in the corner of our lives that's ticking down. It's ticking the fuck down. And what do you do? In fact, one of the most profound things my dad ever said to me, and it won't seem profound to a lot of people, but for me, I mean, he said it to me when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and it stuck with me forever. Like, I remember being 8 or 9 and just first becoming aware of time and what time actually was and how it elapses. And it was my birthday. And I said, it's crazy, isn't it, Dad, that every year only comes around like once a year, like just once every year, and it's gone again. And he's like, no, son. He goes, every day comes around once. That's it. And once that the year's gone, it's gone. And for 8-year-old me, it blew my mind. And it seems simple, but it's not. It's profound. It's profound because it does come only once. And we have days where we do nothing. Are you that fucking good you can do nothing today? Are you that good? Is your life that in order that you can do nothing today? Is your life that in order that you've got 4 hours to sit and watch a fucking Netflix series? Is it? Mine isn't, but I still do that shit. And we have to come to a place where we can have this radical self-honesty where we go, no, you lazy, deceitful, lying, cheating motherfucker. You don't have the luxury of the time to go and do that stupid shit, because there are things in your life that are urgent, that need you right now. And these are the things that consume my thoughts all of the time. It's not fun being me.
You need to get this podcast going, man. You can get that shit out there.
Yeah, I hear that.
But you see the thing that angers me so much, especially in men. You see it in men all the time. You know, it's a completely different topic, so I won't go too deep into it. But masculinity is in crisis. But there's no shadow of a doubt in my mind. It's in crisis for lots and lots of different reasons. You know, real masculinity is just becoming a fading force in the world. But it's becoming a fading force because we have sacrificed true meaning and true responsibility and true courage, and we've accepted counterfeits of those things. You know, and it's not a small thing. The way the language that you use matters. The way you spend your money matters. The way you dress matters. You know, the music that you listen to matters, and all of these things chip away at your integrity, or they build your integrity. You know, and it breaks my heart, and it makes me so angry when I see so many men, especially young men. I understand it. You know, there's not many voices for this, that are so unbelievably aligned and attached to things that are just utterly fucking meaningless. Meaningless. You know, guys that have £7,000-8,000 fucking wardrobes, you know, but have no sense of meaning or purpose whatsoever, none. But that, to look that way and to dress that way, becomes everything. It becomes their identity. And when you scratch beneath the surface and you get rid of the labels and all of these different things, and you get rid of the fucking dot work tattoos, and you look beyond the steroid-filled body, you realize that there is nothing else there. There's nothing else there. There is no character. There is no integrity. There are no opinions that are uniquely yours, that are well thought out, that are reasoned. There's nothing there but a facade, you know, and that's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's why times like this are even more terrifying, because you look around you and say, are these people really ready to be deeply self-reflective? Are these people really ready for brutal self-honesty? Do they even have the capacity to go to those places where they can critique themselves to a point where they actually will go, fuck, what have I been doing with my life for so long? You know? And it's it matters. It matters. It really, really matters. Was it you I was telling you about the Stephen Fry interview that I'd seen? Did we talk about that?
No.
So Stephen, I think it might have been with Steve Watt. I'll send you guys a link to it. It's fucking brilliant. Well, Stephen Fry is just brilliant anyway, isn't he? But he was doing an interview with Dave Rubin, and he spoke about this, and he spoke about how deeply infantilized our culture had become, how we have a culture of infants. And he had said, you know, the food that we eat is this microwavable, soft, pappy food that you can just get through and wipe your fingers off, and we drink these sugary drinks. And he said, and there's 40-year-old men with baseball caps on backwards. And he goes, and then they're all taking their girlfriends to go and see superhero movies. You know, and Dave Rubin didn't really understand the point, and he kind of laughed at him. And Fry was going, no, these things matter. They're small things on the surface, but they're a much, much, much bigger indication of what's going on beneath the surface. We are a deeply, deeply childish culture, you know, and if you just look around you, it manifests itself everywhere. because there is no real truth and there is no real purpose. So when catastrophe strikes, like it is doing now, you look around you and there's not that many people having their shit together. There's not that many people that will come out of this radically different people than the people that went in, and it's because we're so aligned to the wrong things.
You think with people that kind of like the character that you kind of depicted, if these people are now in like self-isolation for a period of time, because I've not worn jeans for 5 days. I've been in a hoodie and all this crap for. I wave at my jeans in my wardrobe. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to see you for a while. But if you strip all that back and they just sat around and because now no one cares what you look like. You can go to the shop and be dressed like no one gives a fuck. So now it's that time where you are kind of stripped back quite a lot. And if you start with your own thoughts and realizing that, well, no one, I can't wear these Gucci trainers. Are they going to be fashionable in 3 months? Are they going to? Is anyone going to care? You could kind of sit if you can't actually get into your own head and understand it and deal with it. Then you might be on that kind of border of like some sort of depression, really, because that's.
It is. I think all these things they're front for something else. Like I don't know about you guys. Maybe it's just me. I think there's something deeply unattractive about men and women, but certainly something deeply unmasculine about men when you see a man dressed head to toe in Gucci, Moncler, Louis Vuitton, and it's blazed all over it. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who is that for? That's a £500 t-shirt. That's a £700 scarf. You're 40 years old. Who is that for? Who is that for? Who are you wearing that for? For me, there's something deeply unattractive about that. And there's something deeply unmasculine about it as well, because that shows a level of thought that's gone into something that is so deeply unimportant. But it requires a fair amount of brain power to do that, to buy those things, to source them, to have the money to do them, to put the work in to have the money to buy them in the first place. It's like, if you've dedicated that much of your brain power to that, I don't think there's much else going on, And I know people will disagree with that, but for me, there's something deeply unmasculine about it, and deeply unattractive about it. I mean, I honestly, if I went on a date with a girl and she turned up wearing some Gucci t-shirt, it would be like red flag number 1 for me.
But yeah, but you
I know it seems extreme, but I do believe that you've got to, if you're going to change the culture, you have to unpack every element of that culture. I mean, it may be that some elements of that culture are fine, you put it back together, but you've got to unpack every element of it and go, well, why does that exist? Why is that there? Why did you do that? What was the purpose of that? What is that trying to hide? Does what you've just done best represent the elements of you that you want to bring to the forefront? And I know when you critique the outfits of people and the films people watch, it feels very stupid and it's very trivial, but I don't believe they are. I believe they're much, much bigger markers for a much bigger underlying problem that exists cross-culturally.
Yeah, I think you're right, man.
So go and burn
Gucci. Man, that's the one for the next one.
I know you have. You go burn that Gucci, James.
My wardrobe's full of it, man. Fucked. Facebook Marketplace, man. Hit me up in the links in the description.
But no, I hear what you're saying on that, Neil. But I think this isolation time though, it's going to give a lot of those people that that have those points of views a lot of time to reflect on that. You're not going to be able to go out and buy a little bottle on a weekend and live that kind of lifestyle. That ain't going to happen for a while now. So what's deeper than that? What's
well, exactly. The thing is, situations like this, they take away all our clutches, don't they? If you were like, for me, you were Friday night and you get the bottle of wine and you get the Dominoes, and you can't do that now, or you can't go outside now, you can't go and join the friends at the pub now. So it takes away all of these things that zap our time, that give us places to hide. Because look, nothing is more terrifying to most people than spending time alone. They won't know that or even be conscious of it. It was like Carl Jung noted that people will do almost anything, no matter how absurd, to keep them from facing their own souls. And that's what these things are. That's what alcohol is. It's what drugs are. It's what one-night stands are. It's what high-end fashion is. They're things to keep us from facing our own souls. And this is a time for us to face our own souls. It's a time for us to really look inward, and figure some things out and get some things on. What we don't want to do is just survive this. I said to James yesterday, short of any of us dying or committing suicide, this will pass. We will get to the end of this and we will survive it. But that isn't the point. The point isn't just to white knuckly hold on and endure pain. The point is to take that pain in and let it change you. Who are you going to be at the end of this? Because if you're the same, something's wrong.
It's taking it with you afterwards as well, right?
That's
It's
it.
not
Everyone's
going
going to
back
remember
to
this, right?
like
What
we
do you
were saying
remember it
before.
from?
People forget all the bad shit so fast. Like every depression we've ever had, we always have one more and one more and one more. It happens again and again and again. No one learns. Everyone gets a bit greedy or whatever. So it's like with this, will you take the lessons with you?
Yeah, that's the thing. You, and we don't. We said this the other day, didn't we? But as a species, we're not good at it. We're not good at remembering stuff. So when we're in the moment, we're like, oh my God, this is hideous. This hurts so bad. I will never forget how I feel in this moment. And I will make sure that I never experience this again. And when that moment passes and normality kicks in and comfort kicks back in, and we get some money in the bank, we forget all about it. And then history repeats itself. And this is the reason why history repeats itself. We don't learn the lessons of the past very well. We don't, and I don't just mean collectively, we don't learn the lessons of our own individual pasts very well. You know, I've been very, 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 very poor in my life, been able to make some money, and then gone back to being very poor again, and repeated that cycle several times because I didn't learn. I didn't learn. I went from one catastrophe to a success, back to a catastrophe, back to a success, and I never planned for it. You know, and I think that the people that endure this the best will be the people that learn from it and remember it and really allow it to change them. There are not many things in life that change as individuals. There isn't. There isn't. There's not many, especially on a collective level. This is one of those things that has the ability to really change us fundamentally at our core, you know, to really change the way we think. And if we allow it to do that, then this will be a good thing.
No, I agree with that, definitely.
I wondered what that noise was, but everyone's outside clapping for the NHS.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Son doing that tonight.
Yeah.
Just a good thing, man. That's one of the things about this. It's nice to see communities coming together, you know, and people just being nice together. You know, when I was out today taking the kids for a walk, everybody that walked past me said hello. That doesn't happen normally. It just doesn't. Every single person that walked past me said hello, and some of them stopped and asked if I was okay. Are the kids okay? People I've never met. It's nice. And look, I'm not a people person. Spend most of my time alone, you know, and willingly so. So, but even for me to see that, it's like, no, this is good. This is good. This is showing the better side of humanity. This is what we need, and that's what we should remember. You know, community is important. People coming together is important.
Yeah, you're right, man. I was waiting for a jog the other day, and there was a guy walking up the hill, and he'd been working at like Tesco's or something, and he just looked fucking shattered. And I just said good morning to him, and he like put like a tiny smile on his face, and I just thought stuff like that is nice. Like I'd never do that normally, but now like these people should feel appreciated. We said it yesterday, like I'm saying to you yesterday, Julian, like these guys that are working in supermarkets, they're risking their health just to serve us.
Yeah.
And like 6 weeks ago, people would be like, "Oh, fucking never working. How's the shit job that?" And now it's like all of a sudden these guys are like local heroes for helping all of us. It's just like a mad switch. I don't know. Makes you.
That's the thing that it holds. These things hold a mirror up to us as a society, as a culture, and it shows what we value. And you know, we've always valued the doctors and the lawyers and the high-end jobs and the athletes, you know, and rightly so. But we haven't been so great at valuing those professions that are seen as traditionally lower down the pecking order. And it turns out those things are pretty vital to society. You know, when the shit hits the fan, they're the things that keep things going. The checkout girl, the street cleaner, you know, the plumber. We had a plumber here today fixing the toilets. And if I can fix the toilet for 3 weeks, you know, it turns out that these things are vital to society. And as part of the battle of humility I was talking about earlier, you know, we need to be humble enough to say, I didn't get this right before. I wasn't looking at things the right way. You know, maybe a little bit arrogant about it. But it turns out that everybody in our society plays a role.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Like you say, the appreciation for like these checkout people, like the switch, it really shouldn't have been a switch. Like the people they should have been appreciated anyway in the first place. But
For sure, then
That's life that we're living, you know. It's
That is to James yesterday. You know, it's oftentimes it takes a tragedy. In fact, more often than not, it takes a tragedy to reveal things to us that should have been clear before. You know, and I think that's what these situations can do. They show us things that we should have seen before, but we didn't. Whether it was because of our naivety or our ego or our, whatever, our arrogance, probably elements of all those things. But it reveals things to us, that we should have seen. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we recognize that there's dignity in all labor, like Martin Luther King said. And all of these people play a pivotal role. And like I said to James, and this was something that I had to figure out the last few years, because I used to be not critical of the people that work there, obviously, but it was like, well, you don't want to be there too long, I had a problem. If you worked at Asda and you've been there 30 years, in my mind, there was a problem there. There was something wrong. And that was wrong of me. That was naive of me to think that. And not everybody can be a doctor. Not everybody can be a David Beckham. Not everybody can be a brain surgeon. Not everybody can be a solicitor. Not everybody can start their own business. Not everyone can start their own podcast. Yeah. There are levels to what we're capable of, as human beings. And if what you're capable of is working the checkout in Asda, then more power to you. And if you do that 40 hours a week, week in, week out for 30 years, then you're a hero. You're a hero for doing that. So it's time that we recognize that everybody's got a role to play, and that there are levels to this, and it turns out that we need all levels, not just the guys that are at the top.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best things to come out of it, to be honest. I really do. Like that, just that level of respect that people have got for jobs that people even wouldn't even look at.
No. The real test is how well we remember this, and remember how the role these guys have played. It's easy to get caught up on a wave of emotion. We all do it, It's like every time England do well at a World Cup, and it's like, oh, it's bringing the nation together, and 4 weeks later we're back to hating each other again. It's yeah, but it's true, we do. We all get caught up on waves of emotion, but if we can remember that, then we'll come out of it a much better people. But you got to have a base level, and that's what I said to you the other day. If you have a base level of what's important to you, then you can see the situation for what it really is. And all it is in the final analysis, it's just a test of your character. It's just a test of your endurance. That's all this is. You may lose big. That includes me. I may lose from this. I may lose big from this. It's just a test of endurance. That's all it is. And if you see it for that, you start almost perversely kind of enjoying it for that and go, okay, the test of my character. Well, let's bring it on. Let's see what I'm made of. And I think if we all get to that point, then this situation, we flip it. It does a full 180. Think about what we gain from this rather than what we lose, and all of a sudden it becomes a different picture.
And if you see a test in both scenarios, then maybe you don't really fear the situation that much anymore. Kind of takes away the fear of it, right?
Yeah, it does. And it's difficult dealing with people feeling anxious at a time like this. Is completely understandable. You wouldn't critique them for that. It's completely understandable. But equally, anxiety isn't productive. It doesn't do anything for anybody. But it can be crippling for those that experience it. But it's I'm in a place now in my life, and again, this wasn't natural for me. I've trained myself to be this way. I don't fear anything. I just don't fear anything, and that isn't because there aren't things to be scared of. I'm not naive. It's because I've just become, in the last 3 or 4 years, 5 years, so attached to the things that matter that everything else just kind of feels pointless. It's like my children are okay. My children are healthy. They're going to be okay. The future belongs to them anyway. It doesn't belong to me. My character's intact. My integrity is intact. Come what may. All else is fine after that. All else is fine. There's nothing to fear. What's the worst that can happen? You lose your home. You have to downgrade your car. You have to go and stack shelves in a supermarket after owning your own business for 10 years. Do I want that outcome? No. But if it comes, can I do it? Yeah. Will it be the end of the world? No. Can I come again? Yes. Can I reinvent myself? Yes. Can everybody listen to this, reinvent themselves? Yeah. You're smart enough to do that. And then when you start going down that checklist, you start going, okay, so I don't want any of those things to happen, but if they do happen, it's not the end of the world. No, it's not. Okay. This isn't as scary as I thought it was, and then you take away the power. Then you take away this thing's power to scare you, to frighten you.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing people can take away from it.
But that's the real thing. Is what you attach to, and that's the thing. I'm not attached to my home. I'm not attached to my income. I'm not attached to the car that I drive. These things are nice. I've worked hard for them. You know, my children's mums worked hard for them. I'm grateful that we have them, but I'm not attached to them. You know, my character isn't entwined in those things in any way, shape, or form. And if I have to lose it all tomorrow, I can. And this is one of the real questions: is what are you attached to? If you're so scared of losing the materialism that you've got, then maybe your hierarchy of what's important is off center a little bit, you know. And that's the thing. I don't want to lose anything. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to lose, but if I have to, it's okay. It's okay, you know. And that means that I'm not fearful.
No, that's definitely a big thing, that being able to, like you said, detach yourself from things that, you know, they serve a purpose in your life. Like, you know, you're firing off your car, your business, your car, your house. But like, if you have to downgrade these things, it's like I say, it's not the end of the world. You've not lost a close loved one. Like, it's, you work with it, you keep going, you roll with it.
Exactly. I grew up poor, you know, and if I die poor, then so be it. It's I'd rather be poor materially than poor in character or in integrity. And you know, that's the real thing. I know it sounds cheesy, you know, I know it does. I get it. And if somebody had said those words to me when I was 21, I'd be like, fuck you, you know. But it's but the older you get, the more you realize that no, this is the real stuff. Who are you? You know.
Well, that's I've kind of seen like both sides of it. I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I grew up in Mauritius, you know, and like my family, my mum, they've worked for everything that they have, and a lot of my family out there are still living in the like not the best part of the island, and it is really tough for them. But if you look how they value life, they're just, you know, they're so happy with, they've got so little things. You'd think that they're millionaires the way, you know, their natural will to live. Like, I don't know how to describe it. You know, that always being happy, always having a smile on the face, always up for doing something. You know, never doubting themselves or drowning in their own sorrows. Like, they might have debt or whatever, but that's not the end of it. Like, we keep moving. So
yeah, it's an attachment to things that are real. Things that are real. We don't have an attachment to things that are real. Generally speaking, in this culture in the West, we have an attachment to things that aren't real. We have an attachment to things that can easily be taken away from us. You know, commodities, materialism, those sorts of things. And we put these things on a pedestal and we worship them. You know, the materialism is our golden calf. And don't get me wrong, it's nice. You know, I like nice things. You know, I like art. I like nice watches. I love nice cars. I like nice things, but they don't define who I am. And the problem is that there's so many people in this society that are defined by those things. You strip them away and they panic. They don't know who they are. You know, I would much rather be rich than poor. I would much rather be well off than not well off. You know, I would much rather drive a BMW than drive the Proton Aerobat that my parents bought when I was 17. I would much rather be in that position. Yeah, the only difference is I'm at a point in my life now where it's just a preference. That's all it is. It's not the focus of what I do. It's a preference. If I can keep that lifestyle, amazing. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to work hard to keep that lifestyle. It just means that if something catastrophic happens and I have to go back to the council estate where my brother and I started from, I'll do it with a smile on my face. And you won't hear a single word of complaint from me. I'll reinvent myself and I'll dust myself off and I'll come again. And that's the mentality that I wish more people had.
Boom.
Right.
I think that's just sick.
Well, that's it on that note. Well, we'll end it on there, but I definitely think we should do another little check-in at some point.
Man. It's always a pleasure.
Since we're going to be in this isolation, find out how you guys have been going, and hit up some more topics.
Again, like a week's time, man. We'll check back in and find out how everyone's doing.
Boom. All right.
All right, cool.
Friday podcast people to look forward to when it's out. Give them something to do with their lives.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care, mate.
See you later, bye.
Right.
Bye.